Steve Eck is a visionary entrepreneur whose journey is a testament to resilience and determination. From humble beginnings on the northwest side of Chicago, Steve faced the kinds of significant challenges like growing up in a tumultuous household and battling addiction at a young age that drag many people down to sorrowful depths and never let them go. Despite his life's hardships, Steve found a mentor who showed him what was possible and instilled in him the foundational discipline he lives by today. Steve owns a thriving auto repair business that pays well, yet he's still committed to pushing his income to new heights through the power of mindset, strategic investments, and surrounding himself with positive and highly influential people. Steve's approach to coaching others is deeply personal and hands-on, ensuring that his clients not only achieve their business goals, but also find fulfillment and purpose. Our conversation got off to a wonderful start when I simply asked Steve how he was doing. I'm Damon Davis, and this is my Discovery Diary with Unapologetically Confident Steve Eck.
Fantastic.
Good to hear.
I never have anything to complain about.
You and I are a lot alike, Steve. When everybody asks me how you doing, I always say fantastic as usual, because that's my default. So I'm with you.
You know what? If I have something to complain about, it's because I didn't handle it.
That's an interesting perspective. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. There have been times when I've thought to myself, I actually caused this problem.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I didn't handle my problem.
Yeah.
So I was just on a call before this, and it was funny because I was talking to this client, and she worries a lot. She's a mother and she worries, but her kids are all in their 30s. And I said, here's an exercise for you. I said, every time you worry, take out your notebook. I'm a big notebook person. I write out everything. I journal everything. And I said, write out everything that you're worried about, everything stressful. Just write it out. And after you do that, circle the things that you have control over and put a line through the things you don't.
Mm.
Whatever's left, that you have a circle around, handle it. And whatever's got a line through it, let it go.
That's interesting. What about the things just along that? Let's stay with that exercise for a minute. What
Sure.
about the things that she thinks that she should be able to control, but perhaps she doesn't have as much control as she thinks? How do you evaluate that piece?
Okay. She asked the same question.
Really?
I said, it's real simple. What is step one of taking action? If you can't come up with a step one, you have no control. If there's no step one, okay, you're worried about your kids. You're really worried about them because they're having a hard time at work. Like, I'm stressed. My son's complaining a hard time at work. Okay, I'm really stressed. My son's having a hard time at work. Okay, I think I have control over that. What's step one? There isn't. There isn't a step one.
Mhm.
I have no control over that. The only thing you could do at that point is look at it and go, you know what? I'm going to reach out to my son and tell him I'm thinking about him and let it go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
It's interesting. I gave her a few exercises and I said, now that I've given you these were easy. I give her a couple other exercises and I said, the funny thing is, because she's trying to create a life, you start out with this. And I said, make out the list. And she made out a list. And I said, okay, now put a check mark next to the things that cost money to do. And she read her list and she goes, none of them. I goes, money's not your problem. It's never your problem. We all think it is. Money's not your problem. And she goes, wow, I really thought it was. I said, because your bills are paid, right? You don't owe it. Sure, you'd like more money. We all would. I'd like to be a billionaire, but it's not a problem. And I got her to realize all of that. And the funny thing is the conversation started with her asking a simple question. What do you think I can do that I can become good at? That was her question.
I bet she already knew the answer, and I'm going to assume that you drew it out of her too.
I spent the next hour answering that.
Mm.
And at no point did I answer the question. I said to her, I go, before we begin, let's review everything you're, let's just check it because I'm concerned you might not think you're good at anything. So let's review what you're really good at already.
So the inventory first is what you
Let's
think.
build it up.
Yeah.
I said, okay, now what can you be good at? The short answer is anything you decide you want to be good at. That's vague, that's easy, but let's take it a different direction. Let's reframe the question. Instead of what can I be good at, what do I want my life to look like? If you woke up today with the ideal life, what would be different than the life you woke up to? And I said, I'll help you. These are practices I do. These are my notebooks I carry around. Every part of my life is written out.
Wow.
I journal everything. I mean, I'm deep. And on my list, the very first thing is I would be an accomplished pianist. Now, I'm a musician, saxophone, guitar, but I have a little problem. I'm missing half a finger now
Ah, yeah.
on my left hand, which means I don't play saxophone because you need all your fingers. Top three would be very difficult.
Hmm.
Guitar has proven to be a challenge. I'm very limited. I was thinking about switching to left handed, but oddly enough, piano's not a problem.
Oh, really?
Treble clef, this is 75% of your music.
Hmm.
Clef, I just have to be able to hit three notes. I'm not going to
Oh,
augment anything.
yeah.
It's clef. I'm just keeping a beat. I need three fingers. One of them can be my thumb. I'm like, I could play piano. So I went
You
and
can
bought a
switch the drums too, Steve.
could be the drums too. Be the drums too. That would go against all my musical
You're tr-
ideas, though, because I, as
yeah.
drummer, go, "You man, you're my human metronome.
Hmm.
You're the one that keeps me in check."
Hmm. Hmm.
So I have nothing to complain about. If I feel stressed, were you at the class I did?
I was at Millionaire.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
If
And that
I
was a great discussion.
if I feel fear, I say, "Time to dance with the lizard." I pull out a notebook and I start writing down where this fear is. What am I? Why am I feeling fear? And I write
Mhm.
down what could be the outcomes. What can I handle? And there is zero after that. If
Mm.
I'm self doubt, time to eat my own dog food, which means I grab the notebook. What am I doubting? And where have I accomplished this in the past? Because I probably have. And
And
all
for
that.
anybody who doesn't know, when you say dance with the lizard, tell me what that means for you.
Well, okay. Are you familiar with the brain?
Yes.
Okay. So the amygdala part of the brain is where fear is generated from. That's where somebody throws a ball at you, you go like this. That was your amygdala part of your brain reacting.
The
'Cause you don't want to get hit
reptilian
with the
brain
ball,
is what they call it, right?
the reptile brain.
Yeah.
And so it's your lizard brain, our brain. So if you're going to dance with the lizard, I'm going to have to challenge my fear.
I got you.
I'm going to have to dance with the lizard.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and figure out what that reflex
Yeah, because
is. Why do I
the
have
lizard,
it?
exactly, because it's not going away. I can't,
Yeah.
the lizard's not leaving the ballroom. Let's dance with it.
Yeah. The fear will be there. And unless you
It will
face
be
it, focus on it, dissect it, try to at least check the boxes on all of those things that you can control about that fear, it will always be there and it will keep you in check. I see what you're saying.
absolutely. It'll
Yeah.
f- you.
Yeah. I love that. Before we go on, Steve, do me a favor. I'd
Yeah.
love to just take me back for a while. I'd love
Sure.
to know a little bit about your history. I know that you have had success in business for years, but I know that there's some history that preceded that. Just
Rough
tell me a
life.
little bit about your early days that led into the days that eventually turned into business.
So
Try.
growing up, we were dirt poor. Northwest side of Chicago.
Mhm.
Dirt poor, junk cars everywhere. My dad always tried to work on cars. He did body work for a while. And so we had 8 cars in the backyard, out on the street. Nothing ever ran. Nothing was more than a $200 car. Everything was a piece of crap. My mom was an addict. She's a prostitute. And so you can imagine my dad was indifferent. So there was really no support. There was no structure. We were like animals. And I struggled in school and I struggled with literacy, I have learning disability, and with no home life for somebody to step up, you don't get the services, especially in the Chicago public school system. It's the largest school system in America.
Is it really? I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. New York's broken down. LA's broken down. Houston's broken down.
I
Chicago
see.
not.
It's a one entire set. I got you.
One entire 660 grade schools, 175 high schools, 500,000 kids. So I went to a school with 400,000 kids. 4,000, not 400, 4,000
4,000.
kids.
Mhm.
So you fall through the cracks. So I skated through and struggle with literacy, but a lot of anxiety, try to hide the family life. So I started drugs at 11. Started
Mm.
smoking pot and alcohol. By 14, I was onto cocaine and just looking for my next high. It was just my relief and got a job out of high school. I couldn't read, wasn't going to go to college, got a job at a factory, towel factory. I taped boxes. That was my
Really? That was the extent of the
hold the
skill they would
bomb,
trust you with.
three this way, one that way, next.
Wow.
So life was really not going well. And I quit the job, got a job pumping gas in a gas station. And that guy changed my life. The boss, Steve
In what
Page.
way?
He made me see what was possible. He was successful. He was a immigrant from Hungary and really became very successful. His kids were extremely successful. So he was just disciplined. I had no discipline. And when I realized that the life I was living wasn't getting me anywhere, I'm like, the first thing's got to go is the drugs. Like, why am I doing this? And enough was enough. It was Saturday night, Sunday morning in January 1988. That was the decision was made, and that was the last time. And so then I learned to read by buying newspapers,
Oh,
some words every day.
self-taught?
Yep.
Wow.
Read the newspaper every day because you could figure out, I knew letters, like everyone knows simple words,
Yeah, yeah.
and you can figure it out. So I bought a newspaper every single day and read, and then I wanted to buy a house. And so I realized that going to lunch cost me money. I packed my own lunch. Bought a motorcycle because it was economical. Even in the winter, I rode my motorcycle, rode a bicycle, walked. I saved money. I allowed myself $40 a week
Hmm.
to spend. I wasn't making much and bought a house.
There's
And,
threads of discipline in everything you've said. You've talked about recognizing the need to eliminate drugs from your life. You've
Mhm.
talked about focusing in on building a skill by reading that's going to get you to the next place. So discipline and buying those papers every day. You've talked about discipline and recognizing economic challenges, limiting yourself. You talked about discipline in terms of setting a goal towards buying a house. This is an interesting theme that's pervasive throughout your story.
When I learned discipline today, I'm probably the most disciplined person. I do not deviate much. I stay focused.
That's amazing.
It's just who I am. Now I have two brothers who they continued the cycle. They both have the same issues. They're both estranged from their kids. One of them is in recovery, thank goodness. The other one, I don't have much contact with, but I don't stay in a lot of contact with a lot. I don't have a big family. In this country, I have two brothers, three cousins, and an aunt. Everyone else is gone. And the rest of my family's in Sweden. I don't have any contact with any of them because I don't want to sound judgmental, but they're losers.
Yeah.
They're
I
just going
understand what you're
nowhere in
saying.
life.
Yeah. This
And
is one of those things that JT says, if you're born broke, it's not your fault, but if you die broke, it is, right?
oh,
Like
right,
you take the chips you're given and you make something of it. And if you don't, that's your fault.
all of them owe me money. I've lent them all money. And you know what the best part is? They don't have the money to pay me back, so they don't try to reach out to me.
Mhm.
I paid that to get rid of them.
One
Call
of
me
those life
anymore.
taxes you talked about in your session.
Huh? I
Yeah.
paid the fee and I got rid of them. I'm happy for it.
Yeah. A lot of
Yeah.
times we feel an obligation to family because we are blood connected to them. But the truth is, as you traverse your life, you can find folks that you're far more connected to than your family. You share values, you share goals, you share motivation and discipline. And when
Mhm.
you don't get that in the people that you're directly related to, I don't really have a good relationship with you because we're just not aligned in those core areas. So I can appreciate that. Let me ask you this. So you went on to build a auto mechanic business
Mhm.
that was very successful.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's amazing. Tell me you ended up exiting the business and you've gone on to other you still own it?
Yeah. Why would I exit? Okay.
That's what
Here's
you
where,
love, right?
here's where JT, I talk to JT all the time.
Sure.
In fact, he actually will come to Chicago when he's stressed out and spend a day or two with me.
No, that's cool.
He doesn't tell anybody that though. But we'll spend a lot of time together. And I talk to Katie all the time and that they have this idea of get in, make money, get out. And I don't share that. So first thing is business, find what you love, find what you're passionate about. And that's not difficult because if you're not passionate, if you don't have some desire in it, it's a grind. And then, but don't follow your passion. That's just gets you in the business. Once you're in business, you go follow the money. Where am I going to make money? What am I going to provide in doing what I love and giving somebody value in exchange for the money? So here I have this auto repair shop that I love because we had cars around all, and I still love it. I love the guys that work for me. I actually was there this morning. I went there for about an hour, probably half an hour. I bought people coffee and left. So why would I exit this business? Now it pays me. I get a check. My auto repair shop pays me $300,000 a year. I don't go there. Why would I sell that?
I hear you 100%.
It's cha-ching.
Yeah.
N Adam Coffey and Larry and JT and I got together because they wanted to do a roll-up in the automotive. I said, it's not the time for it, and I'll explain. When Adam talked about doing a roll-up in the landscape space, I said, "You're talking about a semi-skilled labor and with no brick and mortar. So in automotive, you have brick and mortar, so now you're buying properties.
Mm.
But you're talking about a skilled, highly skilled labor, and right now there's such a shortage that we're overpaying for talent. And the
Uh,
fact that you have mechanics, you could lose money and still have a business that's sellable. So if I made no money, I could still sell my business because I have mechanics."
yeah.
And they didn't believe me at first until they got into the numbers at looking at different ones. I said, here's a business. I showed them that without the properties estimated at 500,000 that hasn't shown a profit in 2 years.
Really?
And tell me how you're going to combine all this and then we're going to 10x it.
Yeah.
I don't see. And they tried to work it a bunch of different ways. And Larry's, we would have to 20x everything just to make money. I said, it's not the
Fascinating.
time. I
Mhm.
said, the other thing about your roll-ups that doesn't work in the automotive industry is 9% of this industry is Hispanic. As a white guy, I would have a difficult time, first of all, with the language and gaining trust, and then saying to them, so I'm not really going to buy your business. I want you to commit to selling it when I'm ready to sell it, but I'm not going to buy it.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to have to do this in English when Spanish is their first language.
Right. Which is gonna make it sound super shifty, very
Shit,
untrustworthy, very
all of
uncertain.
that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we need to let this one die. Your whole roll
Really?
up. And I said to JT, you do me a favor. You get the first one on board. I'll get the next 50. You get the first one.
Yeah. I love that. That's funny.
And I said that I'm not a big fan of their roll up thing because honestly, I've never gotten to see the inside, the nuts and the bolts. I've been
Mhm.
told about it. I've never actually dug through the numbers.
Is that something you're gonna chat with Adam Coffey about? Show
No,
me how this goes.
I asked that question.
Mhm.
That question was answered with a no.
Oh, really?
But no, he's not going to show me the insides of his business.
Oh, interesting.
No, we get what's told to us.
But it seems like a business that he has exited previously, like laundromats. He
Absolutely,
did
absolutely.
wash,
I,
right?
yes, but I want to see the inside of.
And he's not willing to share how that
Well,
went, huh? Even
no,
though
he's
that's in
not.
the past tense.
Yeah,
Interesting.
read the books, read all that. I'm like, but I don't want to know.
Yeah, I
Well,
wanna have the frank
but
conversation with you
I
about the
want to.
details.
Like, I want the details. I want all of it because I looked at the automotive and it was a no.
Yeah,
It was a lot of. Uh, so no, Adam's a good guy. Adam's a good guy, but I'd love to know the inside of it.
certainly, certainly. Let's pivot for a moment. So earlier
Sure.
this year, you made a commitment. You said that you had, or maybe you set out at some point prior to this moment to make $1 million in a year,
I
right?
did. Uh-huh.
And one of the wonderful things that I heard you tell the story of was this ignorance tax
Yep.
that was pointed out to you. Can you
Mm.
describe first your commitment to make $1 million a year and then this illuminating point of the ignorance
So
tax,
the making $1 million a year is to me was the next goal, not the money. It's that you can do it.
the achievement? That's right.
Achievement.
Yes.
Everything has to have an achievement.
Hmm.
Need $1 million a year? If I did in 18 months, that's fine. That wasn't it. I wanted to see. And so that was more the challenge. But when I got into it with my coach, you don't know how. It sparked me because there was things that I'm like they were lucrative that I was passing up opportunities that were there and I wasn't going after. And why not?
Hmm.
Because I didn't think I could, because I didn't think I had the knowledge. When he said that to me, The only real estate that I had owned was commercial, and I occupied all. I have businesses in them.
Hmm.
He said, "Well, how come you're not in the real estate space?" I said, "I don't know a lot about it, and I don't want to swing a hammer like flipping homes." He said, "Okay, so why aren't you in the real estate space?" Okay, I see where we're going here.
Right.
I picked out every reason to be out of it and never examined why I should be in it.
Uh-huh. You had
And
set limits for yourself, basically.
I had my own limiting belief.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I never thought. He's like, you can conquer any space as long as you think you can. I'm like, "Huh." And he's, who told you how to swing a hammer? Like flip a house. And I said, well, I've met people through JT or whatever. And I think of this one couple who's into home flipping. He's like a carpenter. And he's, so you think that people have to do that to make money? And I'm like, oh, you just keep challenging me. Oh, okay, okay. He's do the work to find the people who are going to find the deals. Don't look for the deals. You don't have the knowledge in the deals. Find the people. And
That's
I'm like,
interesting.
oh,
This resonates. I was listening to a podcast on real estate, and they interviewed the author of a book called Who Not How. The basic
mm-hmm.
premise
I read the book.
being
I've
the
read the book.
basic premise being every time we come up with an idea, we think to ourselves, how am I going to do this? And instead, you need to think about the delegation
Ooh.
process. Who am I going to get to do this for me? And that
So
changes the game. That delegation is incredibly important for entrepreneurs. I'm with you.
currently, I own two houses that I've never seen, that I have no intention. I couldn't even rattle off the address. One, I know the state, I don't know the city.
Wow.
I don't have to. I know the person.
Yes. There you go.
And I'm like, wow. And once I started getting into this, and how I did it was I would meet somebody and said, what do you do? I'm in real estate. Oh, okay. And the first thing I wanted to do is find out if they're a good person or not.
Say more. Why was that the important point to
If they're a
start
good
with?
person,
Versus,
I,
listen, you can be a business mogul and do amazing millions and millions of dollars of business. Why was good person your first criteria?
I do not compromise my ethics. That is a hard rule. Honesty is 100%. And if a person compromises their ethics, I don't do business with them
Mhm.
because that line all of a sudden becomes real gray. And you're talking about money and gray lines,
Yep.
blurred lines.
Yeah.
So I have to get to know them and know that they're a good person. And that's where it starts. And then if they hustle,
Yeah.
I have to know these things. Then we'll start to talk about business.
Yeah. That makes a
And,
lot of sense.
and then you say, okay, so one person that I met, and she was in real estate, she really knew her market. And I said, in your market is a really odd market. And I said, what's available? Like things don't pop up real often. Can we grab something that pops up? And she said, we can, but you got to be really fast. These things don't last in the market long. I said, fast isn't an issue. And so she called me up and she said, I got a place. I'm sitting here right now. How fast can you wire me money? I said, Chase Bank is 4 doors away. From whatever it takes for me to hang up and go to Chase Bank, you'll have your money. Everyone I deal with, I tell them the same thing. If I say I'm going to send you money, you will get it. If I say it's 1 hour, you get it 1 hour, not a week, not a month, not when I get around to it. However, when it works the other way, I expect the same exact thing
That's right.
because that tells me your amount of integrity. When you want the money, you'll do anything for it. But you have to have the same integrity when you're paying the money.
That's right.
And I got to tell you, like, you look at JT, sure, he's a lightning rod. Some people love him, some people hate him, this and that. One quality, when it comes to money, any dealings, and I've had a lot of dealings. If he says it'll be in your bank account on the 19th, it is in your bank account on the 19th.
Yeah.
He doesn't mess around.
Yeah. His
Like,
integrity is incredibly high. And I love what he preaches in terms of treating other people's money
mhm,
more cautiously than you would treat your own, right? This is a relationship that you are trying to not just have on a transactional basis, but potentially to build business relationships well into the future.
mhm,
And if you're not judicious and careful with other people's money, that's a relationship lost. You potentially lost millions of dollars in
yeah,
business because you did not act with the integrity and the reciprocal integrity, Steve, that you just talked about, right?
I have one guy that I work with, I do a lot of business with. And the first time we're going to work together, I hand him $50,000. I told him, I expect this back on this day. Like we talked and we worked it out. I go, not the next day. That day was our first deal. And the money came 9 a.m. And so now that we were friends and he said, he's 2 days before I didn't have the money. I was panicking, trying to figure out how I was going to get you the money because it didn't come in.
Wow.
He's like, I was going to make sure that I paid you. I said, appreciate that. And he did. And now we're solid.
But you didn't need to know that. He held up his end of the bargain and committed. And I love that he sought out any means possible to get you that money within those 48 hours is incredibly
And
powerful.
he did it. He made it happen. And I'm like, I will do business with somebody like that anytime.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And what's funny, the people who I do business with today, it's not just business. We
Mm.
check on each other.
Yeah.
These people mean something to me.
Yeah.
I one person who I do a little bit of business with, not a lot, good person. So he said to me, I'm having marital problems. My wife left. I don't get it why. And she cleaned out the bank account and I need to be somewhere. I need to buy a ticket and got 2 kids. She left and he said, I don't know what to do. And I said, well, you're going to continue your life. You're going to be there and you're going to take your kids and you're going to get somebody to sit. They're 10 years old. You'll figure it out. He's like, she cleaned out the account. I said, well, $10,000 help you. He said that would put me right on track. And I already got $10,000 to help him.
And
And
you had a pre-existing relationship. You guys had built
yeah, like
rapport.
this was
Yeah.
trust. This was trust.
Yeah.
Turns out his wife had come back and actually things were good. It was her family was making up stuff and she came back and he wired me the money and he said, I will never forget what you did for me.
That's amazing. Yeah. That personal relationship goes a very
So
long way.
I anybody I do business with, I also have a friendship and a relationship with.
That's great.
That's the other part of it. It's nothing is just business.
Tell me about some of the mistakes you may have made in the past. This is where we learn, right? Successes feel great, and sometimes it's based on luck and timing and location. Sometimes you don't choose the right people to trust. You don't take the chances that you should have. Tell me about some of your mistakes and what you've learned along the way.
The majority of the mistakes I've made is because I said no. There's my auto repair, when I first opened, a year into it, business took off. I bought the building and there was an adjacent home and it was for sale. And I looked at it and I said no. They're asking $240,000. And I said no. I should have said yes. And the guy that bought it knocked down the house, put up a building, and walked away with $2 million.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
And it happened in another real estate deal. Like I said no and passed up opportunities. As far as saying yes, hey, I've lost money. It happens, but I took a chance.
Yeah.
I will never regret going for it. I will only regret.
Yeah, I like that.
I mean, losing money is not a mistake. You learn a valuable lesson. I knew a lot of real estate now. I didn't before, I didn't know a lot about it. And maybe this is what held me back, but I overpaid for a place in the height of the market because things were just, so I overpaid. I knew I was overpaid. And then 2008 hit and the bottom dropped out. I lost about 70,000, 75,000, 60,000, something like that. And I thought, okay, what did I learn? A couple things. One, don't overpay. Make your money on the buy,
Right. There you
the
go.
sell. You can't guarantee the sell. Make your money on the buy. The second, I shouldn't have sold.
I just said this to somebody recently.
And
I have a couple of pieces of real estate and I was talking to them about possibly selling, and I changed my mind because I've said, and I've heard multiple people who own real estate like yourself, Steve, say, I wish I had kept that property, right?
Mhm.
More than once. So I'm glad to hear you say that.
Yeah, so I panicked. Now, here's a lesson I'd learned after that about selling. You know who Warren Buffett is?
I do.
Absolutely. So Warren Buffett is worth $85.5 billion. That do you think he's made after the age of 50?
Yeah, I feel like 90% of it or something came after his, like, some older age,
85
six.
85.2 billion out of the 85.5 he made after the age of 50. At
Un
50 years old, he had $300 million. And Warren Buffett said the reason he was able to is because he didn't sell. He hung on to it. He said in his life, he's owned a couple hundred stocks. He's actually only made money off of six of them, but he never sold the six.
There you go.
He just waited and waited and waited. And we're like that.
Yeah,
Your greatest thing is time.
yeah.
And as soon as you sell it, you cut the throat of time.
You've topped it off, that's right.
Yep.
Steve, before I let you go, I would love to hear about your work to coach others as someone who preaches being unapologetically confident. What does it mean? And tell me what the tenets are of your coaching.
So I do coach others. I have one-on-one clients. I'm building my one-to-many, but it has to be in such a way where there's so much value because I don't want some gimmicky course. It has to have all the pieces in place and have an impact. But everyone in business, and I shouldn't say everyone, the people I coach in business, a lot of times they'll come to me because their business isn't doing good. The business is not the problem. Everyone knows how to make money. They didn't forget. I'll give you a quick example. You have Derek Jeter knows how to hit a baseball and is playing baseball. He's a great Derek Jeter was a great baseball player. He went into a slump. He didn't forget how to hit a baseball.
Right.
It was up here. The slumps are always in your head. You got to get out of the slump. And Pete Rose always said, don't change your swing. That's what got you to the majors.
Yes.
Is all so when business they know how to make money, all of a sudden they get a key employee that quits and they panic, or they have a difficult customer, or they have a bad week and it snowballs.
Mhm.
And now they pull back the marketing because there's not enough money. I got this big bill out, and all of a sudden life is happening. They're no longer making it happen. Now it's happening to them.
Yes.
They're just maybe business isn't bad, but it's never been great because they never thought it could. So there's something in between their ears that's holding them back from doing this. And
Skyrocketing.
everybody, that's
Yeah.
everybody. They don't believe in themselves. They doubt themselves. They're afraid. They're listening to the wrong people. They're not hearing the right people, and they don't have the right team around them. I am their biggest cheerleaders. My one-on-one clients, it's not, well, I'll meet you for an hour. Like, I am so committed to them that I go visit them. I want to see their businesses. I want to see what's going on. I am so committed. I am calling them regularly. I am meeting with their employees. Every one of them is successful. That's why they don't quit. I keep telling them what you're paying me is very minimal to what's really happening. And the last one I had that quit stopped. We ran out. He didn't re-up. It was funny because again, his business went like this, but it was all him. Today, because I still talk to him, there's no hard feeling, no anything like that. He opened up a second business. And the thing was, he hired me. His business had the potential being great. And talking to him, I'm like, okay, tell me a day in the life of. And this guy went to business, or he went to work and he came home. He had no goals in place. He was
No
just,
alternative fulfillment. Yeah. He's just churning and grinding. Yes.
and fulfillment is your purpose. That's fulfillment. Buy an expensive car and thinking that's going to make you happy because that's not fulfillment. That's achievement. That was just difficult to do. You had to get the money to buy it. It's a kind of difficulty, but there's no fulfillment. You've achieved. Proud of yourself, pat yourself on the back. Now you got an expensive car.
Right.
There's no value to it.
Right.
Fulfillment comes with value. It's you. And he had none of it. He had,
Achievement versus fulfillment. Yeah. You're absolutely right.
man, and I worked with him for a year. He changed so much. He was a guy that wanted to live in the woods and prep for doomsday. I am not kidding. He would listen to doomsday YouTube videos and
Wow.
said, do you realize who puts these out? Think of the source. And before we ended, I will never watch that stuff again. That is the
Oh,
most
that's interesting. The mindset of the video producer is limited, destructive. I see what you're saying. So by feeding himself that stuff in his mind, he was actually creating his own lack of fulfillment, right? He was
right.
basically subscribing to things will never be good. Ah, that's really interesting. Huh.
His kids, he took his kids snow skiing and he never taken them snow skiing because he used to say, you know what? I really don't like people. I don't like being around people. And I said, of course you don't. You've been feeding like this. And I go, challenge yourself, go skiing with your kids. And he went skiing. I talked to him after that. He said, that was awesome. I spent time with my kids. I saw the happiness on their faces. I saw other people happy.
That's amazing.
I go, isn't that interesting? But
Yeah,
as
indeed.
he was growing as a person, it went like this. When I was talking about that, you become the person. It's who you're not the person that could do it. He would have never reached that. Like his businesses took off. He opened up a second one. It would have never done it because he wasn't a person that can do it.
It has to become a part of you in order for it to be manifested basically in your life,
Your,
right?
your, your
Yeah.
business is an extension of yourself.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And that's why when going back to the original, when buying and selling, if that's not an extension of me, then it sounds like a chore. It sounds, oh, that's just a way of making money. Making money's not hard. It really isn't.
Mm.
The more you make, the more you realize it's easier to make. It's not difficult. If that's your only goal, is that's where you're going to spend your time and your energy, that just seems like a lot of effort for not a lot of fulfillment.
I agree. I agree. Steve, this has been amazing. Unapologetically confident. I love it, love it, love it. You and I are cut from similar cloth, different backgrounds, but definitely maintain that positivity between the ears. Its mentality goes a very long way. So
The distance.
yeah, I appreciate you spending time with me, man. Take care. All the best to you. Okay.
Hey, you too.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right.